which is poetry annotation. So you can see you have here a poem, Digging by Seamus Heaney, and you can see that the student has annotated it with all of these separate ideas. This is the way you should annotate poetry. It is a good example because it has different colors. It has used small words, so it hasn't written in full sentences. It has just given notes and in very often bullet points in different places. This is a good example of poetry annotation and how you should analyze your poems. Here is a bad example of how not to analyze poems or annotate them because it has too much writing on it. It has too much writing, too much color, and it's hard for you to use when you're revising and when you are, writing your poetry analysis essays. So the reasons it is not good is because it has full sentences, which uses up so much more space on the page, which means that you don't have as much space to make smaller notes. It also uses perhaps too many colors, and it also highlights almost all of the poem, which is not very useful and is a little bit counterproductive. If you highlight everything in the poem, it's almost the same as highlighting nothing because you can't see anymore the key points that you want to talk about. So I would recommend when you are annotating poems that you use the left-hand side example, not the right-hand side example. And now we have just a few general points and guidance for annotating poetry. So use different colors for different areas so that you can quickly see where the key parts are. When you can highlight and underline any key parts that you want to talk about. Be sparing of the annotation. Don't highlight everything for the reasons I just given because it becomes messy and you can't see what it is you want to talk about. Use bullet points to note information and save space. So like on the left-hand side, bullet points instead of full sentences. You want to save your full sentences when you are actually writing the essay. Because there's no point starting to write it on the poem, you want to write it in the essay itself. I would also recommend numbering your points. That's something that they haven't done on the left-hand side, but if you have annotated your poem and you've got good analysis in bullet point format on the poem, then you can decide, okay, what order do I want to talk through my analysis in the essay? And you can put bullet numbers, so 1, 2, 3, on your different areas of your annotation so that you can clearly see, okay, I'm going to be talking about the emotive language first, or I'm going to be talking about the use of rhetorical questions second. And that way you can work your way through your essay using your annotated poem as a bit more of a guideline so you know what you're talking about next. So the purpose of this is to help you to analyze the poem and also to provide you with a plan for your writing. Another purpose would be to provide you with a great revision resource. So you will be annotating poems when you're studying them in class, and then you will also be reading them and writing essays on them when you're revising and preparing for the exam. And then if you're in the exam and you get a poem that you haven't seen before, which is the case for AQA GCSE English Literature, then you want to also annotate the poem and plan in the exam. But obviously you have a little bit more of a time pressure scenario, so you'd want to restrict yourself to 5 minutes, 10 minutes max for planning and annotating your poem. Okay, so key things there are that you want to make sure your annotation is not messy, that you just use bullet points, and that you number your points for when you're writing your essay. Do not write in full sentences, and do not cover the entire page, as it won't be helpful to you. Okay, let us